This is a PBRTV.com production.
Welcome to the PBRTV Podcast. I'm here with Dimitri Vassilaros, who has a storied career in not only Pittsburgh radio, but surrounding markets and some not so surrounding. He has been a talk show host at News Radio 1020 KDKA, Talk Radio 1250 WTAE. There's one you don't hear about anymore. 1170 WWVA in Wheeling, and a local cable TV channel which we all know as PCNC. He has also been a guest host on some syndicated talk shows such as Jim Bohannon's show, Bill Cunningham, Michael Smirkanish, and even Jim Quinn. He describes himself as the Lovable Libertarian. Now, you've got to explain that one. Where did you come up with that one?
Well, I have to tell you the truth. It started with Jack Merker, God rest his soul, great program director in San Diego, KSDO. It was a Gannett station, and it was a magnificent news talk station. I mean, Gannett did everything right, had wonderful people, including Jack Merker. He was looking for a liberal to counterbalance the conservatives that he had on the air, and I said, look, I'm a libertarian. And he said, well, libertarians have some liberal views. I mean, he did not really understand it. But I said, well, we want to end the war on drugs, and, we don't want militarism all across the world and all that. And he said, well, okay. And I'm long story short, he called me the Lovable Liberal, and that's how he booked me. And, I mean, I was true to my principles. I mean, I was just, and they were surprised because a lot of times I didn't have liberal views on different issues.
Sure.
I was being me.
Right.
But that he couldn't find a liberal, so he found this libertarian and said, highlight your liberal views on certain topics, and we'll call you the Lovable Liberal. I said, okay, fine. Well, that lasted 2 years. And then came back to Pittsburgh, and fortunately, 1250 WTAE had a magnificent program director, a guy named Tom Clendenning, who does not get anywhere near enough credit for what that man did with that station, turning it to talk. But Tom had Rush Limbaugh on weekends, and they were getting rid of him. He was going to go to KDK or whatever. And he said, we've got an opening. Do you want to replace Rush Limbaugh on WTAE? I said, heck, yeah, sure. So that's where I started. I said, look, I'm a libertarian. Can I just go Lovable Libertarian and just Dimitri, the Lovable Libertarian? He said, fine. And that's where it started. So thank goodness for Tom Clendenning. And, he made that 1250 WTAE into a really good talk station.
It was an excellent talk station.
It was an excellent station. Yes. And Tom, unassuming guy, did a great job. And that's where it started in here, my hometown, Pittsburgh. And I never looked back. It's been fantastic. And when I started as the Lovable Libertarian, this was in the early 90s, most people had no idea what a libertarian was. I mean, here I am, a life member of the Libertarian Party, life member. And I'm saying libertarian, and they go, what's a libertarian? I don't know, what is that? Oh, what are you in favor of, drugs? No, I'm in favor of freedom. I'm in favor of liberty. I'm in favor of the government leaving us alone to live our lives as we wish. I mean, I don't think that's such a radical proposition. I really don't.
Right.
And so I had to explain what it was to be a libertarian to an awful lot of listeners in the greater Pittsburgh tri-state area. And there were several libertarians like Terry McIntyre in Pittsburgh, who's now living in the West Coast, Dan Sullivan and a few others, Harold Kirazi, and some others were just absolutely wonderful, wonderful, supportive people. They gave me a lot of guidance and showed me nuance about libertarian position for this or that, and take a look at this. But Harold and Terry and Dan and Crowley's and all, they were just and others, and I wish I could remember all of them right now. Shame on me for not. But they were very supportive. But it was a long process using radio, because I love radio. I mean, we were talking pre-show here about the magic. That radio to me is still magic. It is absolutely magic. You see those towers in the North Hills of Pittsburgh at night, the red flashing lights, and you know that sound, voices, ideas, concepts are being transmitted from there, being sent all over the world.
Sure.
I still get goosebumps. It's just magic. And so I used radio to help spread the idea of personal freedom, personal responsibility. Being a libertarian, what does that really mean? We want peace and prosperity. We don't want to be involved in wars with other countries, sending our troops all over the world. We don't want the government's troops, the police and FBI and all the rest, spying on us and breaking into our homes. We want to end the insane war on drugs. Prohibition did not work then, and it does not work now. And proof of that is the utter shame, the utter humanity of all these tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in our prisons for nonviolent drug offenses. Mm-hmm. And I think it is just a disgrace. And if I could do anything in my lifetime to end that or help end that, that is great. And if I can use radio to do it, because I understand the spoken word, I understand how to communicate using this microphone, using that board, going through you, a wonderful host, and this wonderful PBRTV that you have, which, by the way, has nothing to do with Professional Bull Riders Association.
Yeah, that's our big joke nowadays.
Yes, I heard that in your last podcast,
Yes.
Your previous one, which was your first. So
yes.
Then I think that's wonderful, and I used radio to spread the word about being a libertarian, and I'm amazed how much progress we have made throughout the country, and especially here in the Pittsburgh tri-state area. It's been magnificent.
Well, it says you've pinch hitted for Jim Bohannon and so on. How did you come upon those? I mean, or how did they come upon you?
No, I came upon them. Well, I'll tell you, KDKA had a great program director back when KDKA was KDKA. A guy named Marshall Adams, he understands radio, he understands spoken word programming, and when KDK started using the Jim Bohannon, there was an opening, there was an opportunity for someone in KDK to guest host for Jim Bohannon.
Okay.
And Marshall Adams, who has just been a magnificent champion of mine, recommended me. And I got in touch with Jim Bohannon, his people, and they said, fine, we worked it out. And I was on the air at KDK. KDK was kind enough to let me use their facilities.
Oh, wow.
Oh, they were just the best. And I was able to go on there and use that, and it was a wonderful experience. Absolutely. In fact, I had Dr. Ron Paul on, who was one of my heroes,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and that interview is still posted all over the internet. You can actually still hear Dimitri guest hosting for Jim Bohannon, who's a wonderful guy, by the way. I've talked to him a number of times. Unassuming, good, decent, fun guy. Jimbo is he's a great guy. And that show is still all over the internet if people want to listen to it.
We'll put a link to it on below this
great
podcast so that people can hear that because that's good stuff. That's major quality stuff. Now, in addition to locally, you've also been on WFLA in Tampa.
Yes, that's where I got my start in talk radio. It was fantastic, and what a great talk station that is. My word, Gabe Hobbs was the overall programming genius for Clear Channel. And that station is, of course, now a legendary talk station.
Sure.
You can thank Gabe Hobbs for that. Gabe Hobbs is my talent agent now. He is branched out, and he's representing some of the finest radio talent in the business and me. And, Gabe Hobbs, whatever success WFLA has had as a talk station, which in the industry, believe me, it's a very, very big deal. That's Gabe Hobbs. A lot of that is Gabe Hobbs.
Yeah.
A wonderful man.
KSDO San Diego.
Yes, that was a Gannett station. Probably the best station where I've ever worked, just because Gannett did everything first rate. Everything first rate. They had a massive staff. They had any kind of equipment, any kind of support you could imagine. The talent there was off the chart, just off the chart great talent. It's a wonderful, wonderful station. The one weakness was the nighttime signal. 11:30. The nighttime signal to North County was just awful. Guess what shift I had?
You weren't going to North County, I guess.
Not too well.
Yes.
It was a losing battle, but it was still a great place to work. A lot of fun.
And then you were up in Cleveland at Triple WE.
3WE,
Yes.
and now WTAM. It's 1100. Great signal, great legendary talk station. News talk, sports as well. Pete Franklin and all the rest. It's a great station. Jim Glass was the program director there. Another great guy. I mean, I've really lucked out with great program directors. Let me tell you, I've been blessed with great program directors. Jim Glass, a guy who still lives in Cleveland, was the program director there, and he worked with Rick Sklar, who is his legendary program director, WABC, and then got into talk radio. And Jim Glass working with Rick Sklar. Rick Sklar recommended me to do the afternoons there at 3WE, now WTAM 1100. And Jim Glass was the program director. I had a week-long audition. First day on the air there in the afternoon, I'm doing the show, and they come in with a tray of champagne glasses filled with champagne. And I thought, wow, this is great. This is a first-class operation. They really must like me. No. They were coming in to announce, there was a celebration to announce that the owner of the station, Art Modell, the owner of 3WE at the time, now WTAM, sold the station to Tom, and Larry, three local guys there, and that was why the champagne. And it was like my first day of auditioning, and they said, "Oh yeah, you'll be fine with the new owners. Everything will be fine. You can be your normal self and all that." And but Jim Glass was terrific. Taught me an awful lot of stuff about how to do talk radio. Very nice guy, very, very good guy. Great program. So many great programmers that I've had. So I've learned a lot from the best, and I've tried to use whatever they've taught me in my own native skills, and it is a joy. I tell you, it is a joy. When things are going well in this business, it's such a high. I've never been involved in drugs or anything like that, but I can't believe that there's any drug that would give me the high that being on the air, doing the kind of radio I want to do, not an hour of, running the board for a chiropractor, selling, rose hips and all that. But, the kind of really good radio that really we should be doing, there's no high like that. There's just no high. And that's why I wanted to do this talk show on the internet, to do radio the way radio used to be done, where it was free, when you didn't have, you don't have to think about this, doing a radio show about a really important subject, primarily, not exclusively, but an important subject such as don't spy on me. This mass surveillance of Americans, to me, is so Orwellian, it's frightening. It's not a cliche. It is Orwellian. It's a very, very bad thing. And I want to do my part to tell the government to stop spying on us. And so that's why I have the Kickstarter campaign, and we're raising an awful lot of money. An awful lot of people believe in what we're trying to do here, and we're down to the last few days. It's going to end on Monday, and it's been fantastic. But I want to do a show online. Online means no FCC.
That's
It
true.
means no FCC rules and regulations, so we can say whatever we want, do whatever we want, and also no advertiser pressure. There'll be no advertisers. And you might be thinking, well, if there are no advertisers, how are you going to make money? Well, the game plan, the business plan is this. I'm going to follow the same business plan that big corporations on the internet have been using. And that is, don't worry about making money. Worry about creating a really good quality product online, whether it's Pandora, Spotify, or Amazon, or whatever, and then, or Twitter, and then you'll have, hopefully, people online, or not online, just people saying, there's something really good online here with this. Let's buy it. Let's incorporate it into our website as a loss leader to attract people, or let's make it into a subscription model or something like that, or maybe do something else. I don't know what. But first create the value. Then worry about trying to raise money, trying to monetize it. I think what a lot of guys in broadcast have been doing wrong is they've used the broadcast business model online. It's not going to work online.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't come close to working online, and they fail. Every one of them has failed.
Yeah.
As far as I know, they've all failed. And so the one thing that you can be sure of with my show is no spots. No spots. You're not going to hear any commercials. It doesn't work online. It just does not work. So what's the right way to monetize it? I don't know. But if I create something of value, which is going to be hard, there's no question about it, but if I can do that, then I think my chances of figuring out a way to make money from it will increase dramatically. But first, let's make a really, really good quality product.
Very good, and we'll talk more about this right after this break here on the PBRTV Podcast.
PBRTV.com wants you to know Hope Hospice is looking for volunteers to visit their hospice patients. Their volunteers are caring people who would be willing to listen or read to patients who are dealing with life-threatening illnesses. Volunteers participate in a training program with the emphasis on providing compassionate care, to patients and their families. Time and commitment is flexible, once a week or twice a month. As an unknown author said, volunteers don't necessarily have the time, they just have the heart. Please call Hope Hospice at 412-367-3685 and ask for volunteer coordinators Marlene or Patty. That's 412-367-3685.
He's got the gift of gab. Eric is back
with more of the PBRTV Podcast.
We're back on the PBRTV Podcast. I am your host, Eric O'Brien, with Dimitri Vassilaros, who has been talking about his storied career in radio and as a talk show host as the Lovable Libertarian. And
you don't have to sneer when you say that, by the way, Eric.
I didn't sneer.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I would do the same thing for Lynn Cullen if I did. Who's
who,
what?
By the way, is delightful.
She is delightful.
She is such a hoot.
Yes.
Such a hoot.
So,
I really get
so
her.
you had the lone liberal and the lovable libertarian together.
Yes.
That must have been a tongue twister.
It was, yeah. I was on Lynn Cullen's program. For those who don't know, Lynn Cullen is a legendary Pittsburgh broadcaster, TV as well as radio talk host, but was on TV first. She's from Green Bay, big Packers fan.
Yes.
And I don't hold that against her.
No.
And she has a very popular show now, talk show online, which is video as well as audio.
Right.
And she was kind enough to ask me to come on the program and talk about my Kickstarter campaign to raise money for this online show, Don't Spy on Me. And so I was on for the full hour with her, and a very cozy studio. I mean, we were literally almost touching shoulders. We were that close. It had to be because of the camera angles and all that. And we had a wonderful time, just a wonderful time, kidding around about a lot of stuff, but also, very serious about this war on privacy. I mean, it offends me to my libertarian core that the government is just spying on all of us, taking all of our text messages and our emails and all of our everything and have it stored somewhere in case they need it someday for something. It's like the Fourth Amendment doesn't exist. It's like probable cause no longer exists. It's like we're going to do everything because they have the magic word. You know what the magic word is? To take away all of our rights. The magic word is terrorism. That's the magic word. If you say terrorism, that's the magic word that trumps the Constitution, that trumps the Bill of Rights, that trumps privacy, that trumps everything. It's like, oh no, we've got to worry about terrorism here, so that's why you've got to give up all your rights. We're going to protect you because terrorism. It's like, really, dude? There aren't any asterisks in the Bill of Rights, like the Fourth Amendment. To the Bill of Rights, the Bill of Rights, the Fourth Amendment. It doesn't say probable cause and all that, unless it's about terrorism, and then you've got to give up all your rights. It's sort of like the way it was not that long ago about the war on drugs. The rationalization for eliminating civil liberties was, well, we're fighting the war on drugs, and drugs are a bad thing, so you have to give up all your rights for that. No, you don't. No, you don't have to give up your rights for anything. They're being taken away from us, but you're denying us our rights. We still have rights, but you're denying us the use of those rights. And shame on you, government. It really frustrates me, Eric.
How would you respond to somebody who would come up to you and say, "Oh, you're just paranoid"?
Paranoid about what?
About all these people spying on you.
Well, the proof is Edward Snowden, who I believe deserves a Nobel Prize, who I believe deserves a Congressional Medal of Honor, who I believe deserves a ticker tape parade in New York City. Edward Snowden is a hero of mine because he had a sweet life working as a contractor with the NSA. He had a great gig. He had access to all these incredible computers that the NSA has. He had a really hot girlfriend, too, lived in Hawaii, and he gave it all up because he believed in this idea of our privacy and that the government should not be violating the law, spying on all of us. He gave it all up and talked with Glenn Greenwald, who is a magnificent journalist, just great journalist when it comes to the privacy issue. Glenn Greenwald is the best. And so Snowden had to leave the country because they were coming after him. He ends up, in Russia. And as far as I'm concerned, he should be brought back full pardon. He did nothing wrong. And there's proof. It's not a question of, I don't wear a tinfoil hat. I really don't.
Yeah.
Edward Snowden was smart enough to bring the evidence with him. Unlike some other NSA whistleblowers, like a guy named Binney, and before that Kurt Wiebe and William Binney, they just spilled the beans about the NSA. Edward Snowden was not the first whistleblower, but they didn't have any proof with them. They were just willing to go public, and the NSA destroyed their lives. Thomas Drake is another guy who decided to work within the system, the NSA, to say, hey, what we're doing is wrong. I'm working within the system. Let's change this. And the system didn't like that. Thomas Drake, his life was torn apart by our government because Thomas Drake, NSA employee, had the nerve to go and try to work within the system, not to go public, to work within the system, to say, hey, these excesses are unbelievable. This is not right. They destroyed that man's life, and right up to the trial, the government's case fell apart. They had some sort of a settlement. Thomas Drake, this incredible whistleblower, now works at an Apple store in Maryland. But he was pre-Edward Snowden. So I'm sure Edward Snowden saw what the government did to Thomas Drake, who went in the system trying to change it, work within the system. And Edward Snowden said, no, the game is rigged. I've got to give this information to the American people. There's no paranoia. Story after story, documentation after documentation that's been published in The Guardian and now in the Interceptor and Glenn Greenwald and all that. The NSA has never denied any of this. There is no paranoia. There's the proof. Edward Snowden gave us the proof. He said, here it is. Take a look at it. Here's what they're doing. So no paranoia at all. No tinfoil hat for me.
Well, and you are, as you alluded to in our last segment, you are starting a program. You have a Kickstarter campaign going.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say GoFundMe, but that was me. Okay. About this program, you wanted to raise $2,500.
A big goal when it comes to Kickstarter for a radio show or a podcast. That's actually a very big number of people were saying, are you sure? Because you have to get a lot of different backers to do this. And I said, I'm not sure, but I want to go for it, and because I believe this is going to spark something in our country. A lot of people saying, hey, that guy believes in what I believe in, and yeah, we can make a difference. We can amplify the people's voices using the magic of that thing that we're talking into right now. This microphone is magic. It amplifies our voices. It amplifies our outrage. And we can use that using new media online to talk to the world about this. And so I thought, well, maybe with enough rewards and this, that, and the other, we might be able to get to $2,500. And lo and behold, with as we're recording this, with 5 days left, we smashed through that goal. We smashed
you're
through
at $4,800 right now.
That is huge. When you look at all the Kickstarter campaigns, to put it in a context for your listeners, when you look at radio and podcast, any kind of campaign for a radio show or a podcast on Kickstarter, on Indiegogo, on any other platform, very few of them make any money. Very few of them reach their goals. Most of them are failures. Well, with ours, we have this mission of helping people amplify their voices. We smashed through our goal, and with 5 days left, we're darn near close to doubling it. I never thought this would happen. I mean, I can't believe it. I'm just so grateful, and so many backers. We've got over 50 backers, and more on the way in the next few days. I'm realistically anticipating this. Try to get 50 backers for anything, especially to part with their money. You'll get a lot of pats on the back. A lot of people saying, oh, yeah, that's great. It's wonderful. I'm with you 100%. Then you send them an email. Here's the link, and you don't even reply.
Yeah.
People that you've done work for, people that you have helped over the years, over the decades, it's like you suddenly have leprosy. It's unbelievable. But I've learned a lot with this Kickstarter campaign. And if you ever want to do any kind of crowdfunding campaign, give me a call. I'll tell you everything that I know. Yeah. Everything that I know. But it's been fascinating. And with 5 days to go, we've blown through the goal, and now we're trying to turn a home run into a grand slam. And it's all because I believe in the power of radio. I believe that radio can be fun again. It can be exciting again. And it can change the world. I want to change the world. I tell people this. Lynn Cullen, oh God, I love that woman. She said, oh, well, Dimitri wants to come on. He wants to have a podcast. I said, no, that's not my goal. My goal is to change the world. And I want to use radio, podcast, radio show, podcast, both, to do that. My goal is to change the world. It's not to have a show. I've done shows, then it's fine. My goal is to change the world. And the way that we can do this is using the power of this microphone and the internet to do just that.
That is an amazing goal, because you're talking on a show that is really intended just to be a podcast, but you have the desire to turn it into radio as we've always known radio, which it has kind of shied away from in recent years.
Well, you can thank the big corporations, and I sound like a liberal here, and I don't mean to, but the fact is fact. The big corporations that gobbled up so many radio stations, and there's nothing wrong with that in and of itself. Yeah. But it's what they did with their properties. They hoard out their properties. They're burning the furniture. All they're concerned about is the quarterly sales figures to make sure that they meet them, and they're giving away hours of programming on stations. Anybody who can write a check can go on radio now, most stations, and have a, quote, show. You can talk about hog futures or whatever you want. If you can write a big enough check to the radio station, they're whoring out the stations. They will take the money, and they'll put you on, and they'll pretend it's a radio show, but it's not. It's an hour commercial.
Right.
They're selling their souls to do this, and shame on every one of them. And there are a lot of them. And the big corporations, again, they paid all these smart guys, all these really, really smart guys who went to business school and, who work on Wall Street and all this and all that. Oh, they were going to be real smart guys when they bought all these radio stations and started doing, economies of scale. We don't need all these people. We need one person who could do 20 different jobs because now we have 20 different stations. Economies of scale. That was like a big buzz phrase. Well, turns out all these smart guys paid way too much for their stations. Way, way too much.
Yeah.
And now they're deep in debt, and now they're just burning the furniture trying to stay in business. But they keep telling us, oh, we're real smart guys. We're Wall Street guys. We're business. We're financiers. We're this. You're inept radio managers. You're destroying your asset here for short-term gain. Eric, you're not that old a guy, but I tell this to people, and sometimes they just don't believe me. Radio used to be a really fun place to work.
Absolutely.
It was fun. You would have energy and excitement and goofing around and entertaining and all that. Virtually no restrictions. It was fun. These corporations, the bean counters who run these things now, have strangled the soul of radio. It's not fun. It's a job. It's a business. I read something recently online where a guy used to go to a radio station, and the station was it looked awful. I mean, the studio was dirty, filthy, whatever, but they had great talent.
A great product.
And they did magic. Now, you've got great lobbies. You go in there, and it's an office building, and the building, the office looks really great and corporate, and it's absolutely soulless. There's no fun. You talk to almost anyone in radio now. There are a few exceptions, not a lot, and ask them, is it still fun being in radio? Most people will go, no, it's not fun. It's a paycheck. It's certainly better than getting a real job, but fun? No. It's homogenized. It's neutered. The soul has just been sucked out of it. But hey, they're making their quarterly sales figures, so what else matters?
That's the important thing, right?
Yeah,
right.
I almost want to cry. I love radio that much. I almost want to cry. But I think with new media online, we can recapture the magic of radio to change the world. I think the internet can be our megaphone, using the radio show, using the podcast for the people who aren't listening live on the radio show, to make a difference, to change the world.
Well, let's talk about some of the, for lack of a better term, prizes that you're offering. Rewards.
Yes. That is actually the right term.
Yes.
Yeah, rewards.
That you're offering to people who contribute to the show, because I think some of these are absolutely fantastic.
And what's the overarching theme for almost all of them? You're a radio guy. I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Thanks.
What's the overarching? There's a big picture thing here with all of these, and I'll give you a hint. It's stuff we've been talking about.
It's your voice,
and the magic of radio.
Exactly.
Virtually every one of those rewards is something that is very personal, very flesh and blood, and very radio in the old days when radio was, fun, when it was radio. That's the kind of stuff that we used to do in radio when it was fun.
Well, look at this. You have stickers. In fact, you brought me a sticker or two.
Absolutely. A bumper sticker and a Space Saver sticker, because it sounds better than a small sticker. Space Saver. And it says, "Don't spy on me," with my classic black and gold color, scheme.
Gosh, why did you choose black and gold?
Well, actually, there are two reasons.
Two reasons. Uh-huh.
Obviously, Pittsburgh, black and gold. But an awful lot of libertarians, you go online, and anarchists and volunteerists and that whole group of people who just want to be left alone, they use black and gold. That's their,
I'll be darned.
That's their main color. And I thought, well, this is a win-win situation. This is, libertarian, don't tread on me stuff, and, leave us alone. And then at the same time, Pittsburgh, black and gold. I mean, for me, it dovetailed beautifully. I mean, that's my color scheme for the rest of my life in this business. Black and gold. That's it. Yeah.
It's always proven a winner around here.
Well, I don't know, the last few years with the Steelers.
Well,
don't get me started with Kevin Colbert. Don't get me started.
We won't go there.
Or Michael Vick.
Yeah, right.
Jeez.
But you're also offering a power lunch.
Yes.
Explain that one.
Yes, a power lunch is a lunch. And but in addition, like for a donation of fewer than $200, you get what I give to everyone, which is a phone call. Even if you donate $1, you get a personal phone call from me. Now, that might not sound like much to someone, but when you go online and you see all these other Kickstarter campaigns and they're just so detached, we'll send you an email. If you send us $10 or donate $10, the reward is we'll send you an email thank you or something like that. I'm going, no. This is flesh and blood. This is radio. Radio used to be very personal. What could be more personal than me calling each donor? Even if you donate $1, I call you, I talk with you, I listen to you. You tell me what you think is important about how we can make the show better. Suggest guests, suggest topics. I'm all ears. I'm no fan of these algorithms that Pandora uses and all these others and curation this and curation that. To me, flesh and blood is the best algorithm. Listen to your listeners. They will tell you what they think is important. And that's what I will do with everyone in my Kickstarter campaign. Then for the next reward, I will thank them not only in addition to the phone call, thank them in social media. I've got roughly 3,800 or so Facebook friends, not likes, but friends, people who took the effort to become my friend. And I've got over 12,000 followers on Twitter. And these are legit followers. These aren't just eggheads or whoever. No, these are people who share our values. And I will thank each person on Twitter, using Twitter, and also on Facebook. For example, Eric made a donation. Let's say it was, $10, whatever it happens to be. And I will send a tweet out saying thank you to Eric O'Brien, the Big E, and, hashtag whatever you want, link to this wonderful podcast of yours and this wonderful page that you have, this site that you have covering Pittsburgh broadcasting, which, shame on the newspapers for not doing this. This is really what they should be doing. But
absolutely.
You're doing it, and that's great. And and also a Google Plus. I've got about 9 people, I think, follow me on Google. I still don't understand Google Plus.
I think that's the population of Google Plus, 9.
I don't get it. honest, and I've tried. It's like, what's the point of this thing?
We all have.
But I thank them, and then in addition, they get stickers, T-shirt. They get I got this actually from NPR or public radio show. Wait, don't tell me. I got this idea from them. I will record a personal greeting for your phone.
Will you do it in Carl Castle's voice?
That I can't do.
Okay.
That's where it came from. I admit this freely. In addition to all of that, a lunch, at least 2-hour lunch at Eaton Park. I didn't say Eaton Park, but it is Eaton Park, a family restaurant in the tri-state area, and entree and drinks and dessert and whatever you want. And I'm all ears again. I'm listening to the people, because if somebody believes that much that they are willing to make a donation in my Kickstarter campaign in these last few days, please donate, by the way. To me, they're worth their weight in gold, and I will do whatever I can, any way I can, to show them my appreciation, and that's the Power Lunch. Yeah.
That's amazing. That is exactly what I thought of when I read these. This is what radio used to do.
Exactly.
They used to go out, and I mean, you wanted a bumper sticker, you got several. You know, you got a T-shirt, you got
to meet the person.
Got to meet the person who was on the air.
Exactly.
You're lucky if you get that. You're lucky if there's anybody on the air.
There isn't. You can't get it. They don't even do bumper stickers. Most stations.
That's right.
When's the last? Think about this. And for your listeners, and I know you've got actually remarkably large following here with this, because there are a lot of people in the Pittsburgh tri-state area who really love broadcasting. I love it. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating field. For your listeners, and for you, when's the last time that you saw a bumper sticker for a Pittsburgh radio station?
Gosh, it's been a while.
I don't even know when.
Yeah.
I honest to God, I don't know when. How sad is that? You've got to have street buzz. You've got to have street cred. You've got to be out there with the people. And stations now, it's an expense. No, you can't. How do you quantify that? It's an expense. If you don't have that expense, you can meet your quarterly sales figures. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, let's get rid of that. Now we meet our quarterly sales figures, so we must be doing well running this radio station. No, you're not. You're burning the furniture. When's the last time anyone has seen a Pittsburgh area radio station bumper sticker? I can't believe I'm even asking this question.
It's very rare.
Yes.
And, we have them at KVE now, but I have not seen them on anybody's cars. Mm-hmm. Not that I follow the bumper stickers when they leave the building.
Now for your listeners who don't know what KVE is, you want to do a little nut graph for that?
103 KVE. 103.1 Mount Pleasant, yes.
Yeah, right. It's a radio station.
It is.
You do have, stickers. That's great. But again, you got to be out there. You got to be handing them to people. You got to be hugging them and having pictures taken. Have selfies now. You can do selfies and everything. That's what you got to do. That's what radio always has been. It's a very personal medium that is being turned into something impersonal to meet the quarterly sales figures.
Right.
It's insane what they're doing to this, and they're destroying the value of their assets. They're destroying the value of the assets. Short-term, short-sighted, just pathetic.
And there you have it. The whole reason that Dimitri is starting his online radio station. It's more than just a podcast.
Radio show. It's
radio show. Yes. But it's more than just a podcast.
Correct. Yeah. I'll be using the interviews that are going to be recorded for the most part and incorporate them in the show, the live show. I'll be planning on live365.com for the platform, and then sending the interview segments out or posting them, or I don't even know the right term for this. I'm going to have to ask you, what's the right term for this? Do you put them up? Do you send them out? Or?
Upload is probably the best.
Upload them.
Yeah, yes.
And,
so people can download.
There you go.
Yes.
And listen to them, and I'm going to use Facebook and Twitter to help spread the word. Facebook and Twitter are my antennas.
Yes.
That's essentially the antennas.
Those are the red lights on the towers.
In the North Hills of Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Absolutely right. Yep. That's a very good way of saying it.
Well, when we come back, we're going to talk to Dimitri a little bit about some of his favorite Pittsburgh personalities and radio stations over the years, and we will do that here on the PBRTV Podcast right after this.
Making the Internet a better place to be. This is the PBRTV Podcast with Eric O'Brien.
PBRTV.com wants you to know Hope Hospice is looking for volunteers to visit their hospice patients. Their volunteers are caring people who would be willing to listen or read to patients who are dealing with life-threatening illnesses. Volunteers participate in a training program with the emphasis on providing compassionate care to patients and their families. Time and commitment is flexible, once a week or twice a month. As an unknown author said, volunteers don't necessarily have the time, they just have the heart. Please call Hope Hospice at 412-367-3685 and ask for volunteer coordinators Marlene or Patty. That's 412-367-3685.
Welcome back to the PBRTV Podcast. I'm Eric O'Brien, here with Dimitri Vassilaros, who has been telling us about his program coming up here. He has he set a goal on Kickstarter for $2,500 and made $4,800 in less than 30 days, I believe.
So far. And we have 5 days to go as we're recording this, and I'm hoping that there'll be additional funds coming in, more donations. People who believe in me, who believe in the magic of radio, who believe in the government should not be spying on us, because that's going to be, a main theme of the program, that, individual freedom, individual rights, this war on privacy is not good. And we can use the internet. We can amplify people's outrage. We can amplify their concerns, and we can make a difference. We can change the world. I absolutely believe that's possible.
Tell us this. How did you get into talk radio? Or radio in general?
Well, radio in general. I always loved radio. When I was at Pitt, we had a college radio station, WPGH, and it was a closed carrier or something like that?
Closed circuit, something
yeah,
like that, yeah.
Where they had little, transmitters in the different towers. You could barely hear it outside of Shenley Hall, where the student union was. And I started hanging out there, loved it, absolutely loved it. And I knew that sometimes I didn't have an air shift. I wanted to be on the air. Didn't have an air shift, and they had lots of people, senior class, junior class guys, and women, mostly men, doing shows. But I also knew that on Friday nights and Saturday nights, sometimes they didn't show up because they were busy partying, doing whatever. So I would hang out at this, because I had no life. I mean, I had absolutely no life, no girlfriend, typical radio guy, no girlfriend, no nothing. But I figured if I could hang out on the nights that I knew that some of these guys might not show up, I might be able to be at the right place at the right time to get on the air. And sure enough, one evening, Friday night, I think, guy didn't show up. Oh, what are we doing? I said, well, I'll go on. I'll do this, because I used to hang out at the station and see how the board operated and all that. And that's how I got on the air. I just picked my spots, and I waited and hoped that somebody would not take advantage of this golden opportunity to have a show on the radio at Pitt. And so I started doing that. And I became fairly good at it. And then a friend of mine who worked at the station, Ken Howard, a student there at the Pitt radio station, worked at a station called WZUM in Carnegie, owned by a Greek guy, Jimmy Paul.
Yep.
And Ken Howard said, there's an opening there. Do you know anyone? And I said, in fact, I remember where I was. I was in the production studio at PGH, the radio station at Pitt. This was so important. This was such a big deal. So I said, I'll do this. I'll go down there. So I went down there. I had to take 2 buses, transfer downtown to go to Carnegie, and met Jimmy Psahoulis, and I said, I'll do this. I'll play your records. I'll be a DJ. It was a underground or progressive rock music back then. Now it's AOL, album-oriented rock.
With a polka show in the morning, if I recall correctly.
A very popular polka show in the morning, yeah. In fact, a guy who did that polka show, a guy named Dan Formento, I think what was his name? Dan Foreman or something. I don't know. Dan Formento from Mount Lebanon. Wonderful, wonderful guy. Brilliant audio guy. And probably one of the nicest humans I've ever met anywhere, especially in radio, but anywhere. Dan Formento. He was doing the polka show, and he was telling me about how there were 2 different types of polkas, Slovenian and some other, I forget what it was. But Dan was so gifted, so talented, that from there he went to WDVE, and he was doing their production, their audio stuff. I think he had an air shift as well. And from there he went on to New York and worked at NBC, and he started his own company, an incredible success story. And he started right in Mount Lebanon. I mean, his family's lived on Arrowwood Street in Mount Lebanon.
Sure.
And Dan Formento went on to incredible success. Nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. As unassuming as you'd never know how big a deal this guy was by talking to him. Anyway, so I met Dan, and I met the other people who worked there at WZUM, Kip Barron and some of the others, and I did okay there. And from there I went to the first, one of the 2 50,000-watt stations in Pittsburgh, WEEP.
1080.
Or exactly, 1080 AM, doing country. And from there, I went to WIXZ in McKeesport, playing beautiful music on an AM station in East McKeesport on Long Run Road. And I was an okay DJ, just okay. I was all right, but I wasn't great, and I knew I wasn't great. So I got out of the business. Long story short, I'm in the marketing shopping center, marketing director of major shopping center in Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay area, Countryside Mall. And I'm starting to listen to talk radio. And I'm listening to some of their air talent, and I'm thinking to myself, I could do a better job than they could hosting a show. I've never done talk radio, but I was listening to them, and I'm going, I could do better than that. And so I got in touch with the general manager, Mike Geyer, at WFLA, and I said, I can do a better job. I'd like to try. And he said, all right, we'll give you an audition. Now, there's a little bit more to the story. It doesn't happen quite that easily in radio.
That's right.
It just so happens that, again, I was the marketing director at Countryside Mall. Well, we placed a lot of ads on a number of radio stations, including WFLA.
Yes.
So when one of your major advertisers says, I'd like to try to be a talk host, you tend to at least listen and say, all right, we'll try you one time Sunday and all that. Mike was very gracious.
Yeah.
But I also assured him, look, I know what I'm doing. I know I'm good at this. And I got on, and I made a lot of mistakes. I went a lot, but it worked out well. Got a lot of response. Ended up with a gig there at WFLA. Then quit my job at the mall, and then went off to a gig in Cleveland, 3WE, now WTAM 1100, with Jim Glass, the program director. And Rick Sklar actually placed me there at that station. The guy who was the legendary program director at WABC. And the rest is history. Went there to San Diego and Pittsburgh and WVA and Wheeling, and had a great general manager there as well, Larry Anderson, who really understood radio and let me do darn near everything that I wanted to do, including Dimitri Graffiti. Do you remember the old radio graffiti bit? A lot of people don't, because it was so rare. I think Alan Combs did it for a little bit, where you essentially give the microphone to your listeners. They call in, they say whatever they want, and hang up. They don't interact with you.
Oh.
And I turned it into Dimitri Graffiti. I added special music, had a wonderful radio producer there, Darren Feast, who was invaluable in picking the music and really in running the board and all that kind of stuff. And Dimitri Graffiti, anybody could call in and say darn near anything. But the key is, talk about counterintuitive.
Yeah.
They could not interact with the talk host.
Oh.
A talk station, but you do not talk to the talk host, and the talk host does not talk to you. Now you think, well, that sounds insane. Well, yes, but it worked. You couldn't do that now because of the FCC and also with the advertiser pressure and these corporations, but you can do it online. So I'm going to do Dimitri Graffiti online, special music. People will be able to call in, say and do whatever they want, and not interact with me, and I'll just take one call right after another. It's sort of like if you could take that microphone, put it on a mic stand, take it to Ross Park Mall, place it in the food court, and then just let anybody come by, say whatever they want in the microphone. It's broadcast out all over the speakers at Ross Park Mall, and then walk off, and the next person comes and says or does whatever and does the same thing. It's going to be magic. It's going to be magic. I can't wait to start with this again. I just can't wait. So that's how I got into talk radio. I just listened and said, I can do better than these guys can. And I did. So it was great.
And we should point out that they're not coming after either one of us, those sirens.
No, because I got a full pardon from the governor in Florida when I was down there.
Yes.
And the records have been sealed for 75 years. So this would be so unfair if they now come after me.
See, my bunker...
It was a big misunderstanding anyway.
The joke here is that this is a bunker buried somewhere in the North Hills,
yes,
but it's not buried deep enough that we can't hear the sirens. So,
well, how many places still have bomb shelters? I think you've done a very nice job, and these crackers with an expiration date of 200 years, I think is really impressive.
Well, you should see my collection of Soylent Green crackers. Yeah,
Soylent Green is people. Sorry,
people food.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. So, okay, so you've talked about some of the people that you've worked for.
Yes.
Who are some of the people that you've worked with?
Oh, I've worked with some of the best, honest to God. Lynn Cullen, I would have her love child if she would let me. Honestly, my wife wouldn't let me do that, but I would actually have her love child. Lynn Cullen, just the best. Uncle Dougie, Doug Hurth.
Oh, God love him.
Fine, good man. And his board op, his producer, Lawrence Gaines.
Yes.
Lawrence was such a gifted producer. Certainly John, Gary, and Brian and Gary. What a wonderful morning team that was. Oh, it was just magic. And John Gary is still in the area, still sends funny email to me. John Gary is just, God, I just love that guy. Just love that guy. Who else did I work with? Fantastic people. Certainly Myron Cope. Myron Cope was so gracious. I mean, off air, he was just such a gracious, decent human being. Bruce Kiden was very nice, too. I really liked Bruce Kiden. Film music, a wonderful writer, passed away, but really gifted writer. Joe DeSteel, I always loved him as a news guy. He's at KDK now.
He is.
Terrific news guy. Again, these are really nice people who happen to be great broadcasters. I mean, I got the best of both worlds with it. Joe DiNardo, when I was at TAE, he was, of course, the weather guy, because Joe says it will. I mean, Joe DiNardo was always very gracious to me, very kind, great broadcaster. Paul Long was wonderful. Talk about going back now in time, but they were all. And this was all part of the radio that 1250 WTAE, the Tom Clendenning put together.
Yeah.
These were really, really good broadcasters, and it was a great, wonderful. Ann Devlin, as I almost forgot. Ann Devlin was terrific to me as well. They were all. Ruth Ann Daly was Ruth Ann Baker. Now Ruth Ann Daly, she was very nice, very kind, good writer, as cute as a button. God, she's so cute. So I was really fortunate having some of the best. Even Mark Madden was there for a while, and he was nice to me. And a big blowhard type on the air, smart guy, very smart guy, Mark Madden, and very knowledgeable about sports. He was very nice to me. I got to work with him, and he's doing well in the FM, the X there, and so a lot of great broadcasters, wonderful broadcasters, and of course Larry and John on KDK. Larry Richard, terrific guy. Who else? God, there's so many. I know I'm missing some of them, but Roger Hitchcock in San Diego fills in for Rush Limbaugh half the time. Former mayor there, incredible guy. Let's see, who else? And the WWVA, George Kellis, was a wonderful, wonderful wheeling personality, wonderful guy. Passed away at a young guy, passed away. And one of my sidekicks was a woman named Kathy Fortunato. When I was on WWVA, I would get phone calls from people, and what the callers would love to bust my balls. Am I allowed to say?
Oh, yes.
Bust on the air?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, and they would call in, and there were several Kathys that would call in and giving me grief. They love to give me grief. I can't imagine why, but they do. And one of them gave me a lot of grief, typically when she was driving, and her name was Kathy, but there were other Kathys, so I dubbed her Pain in the Ass Kathy. That's all I knew about her. Pain in the Ass Kathy would be driving. She would call in, sounded wonderful, and would give me grief about some stupid thing I said. All right, fine. One day, she comes into the station, and I still remember, I still remember what she wore. She wore a brown or ox blood, whatever, I'm not good with colors, leather coat. Slight woman, very pretty, very lively, and she ended up working at the station because of just the interplay and calling my show. Pain in the Ass Kathy became her persona. She ends up being a news person there, my sidekick. Wonderful, wonderful person. It's like if you would have like the perfect sister. I've got a sister, she's very good. But if you wanted to have the perfect sister, it would be Kathy Fortunato. I mean, she was such a joy, and everyone in the valley, in the Wheeling area, knew her. And then one day, I'm with my daughter, taking her to a freshman orientation in school out of town, and I get a phone call from my wife, and she said that Kathy Fortunato had a stroke.
Oh, my.
And doesn't look good. And I didn't want to say anything to my daughter because, she's there for the orientation, and it's, something new. She's going to be a freshman and all that. Meanwhile, inside, I'm dying because Kathy was like this perfect sister. And we get back finally, and turns out that she apparently was gone after a very short period of time with the stroke. Now, mind you, she's married to this wonderful doctor, Dr. Mike Fortunato, and she was having the stroke right there with Dr. Mike.
Oh,
and
gosh.
He's doing everything he can. He knows what this is. And they life flight her to Allegheny General. I mean, everything that you could have hoped for with a stroke situation
Sure.
played in her favor. Everything. Didn't matter. Found out later that they kept her alive to harvest her organs.
Oh,
So that
gosh.
parts of Kathy Fortunato, my sidekick, my dear pain-in-the-ass Kathy caller, are now living in the bodies of other people.
Wow.
Just a darling, sweet, wonderful, mid-40s, wonderful husband, wonderful kids, full of life. I mean, she was so full of life. I just cherished her phone calls. And then when she was my sidekick, oh my God, it was like dying and going to heaven. And then God takes her. Of all the people on this earth, why her?
Yeah.
To this day, I don't know why. To this day, I don't know why. But and the funeral for Kathy Fortunato there in Wheeling, and also for George Kellis in Wheeling. We were there at the funeral homes for each. The line of people for each one of them went outside the funeral home, went down the street, down the block. It was, you would have thought a president had died.
Yeah.
And I got to work with both of those people, especially my dear Kathy, pain in the ass Kathy. And I worked with a lot of great people. A lot of great
Sounds
people.
like it, and it sounds like you're going to do wonderfully with this this new on-air, online program that you are about to begin. What are you going to call it again?
Well, the Kickstarter campaign is Don't Spy on Me.
Don't spy on me.
That's the overall theme. That's the overarching theme about personal liberty, personal freedom, privacy. I'm a big believer in privacy, that
Sure.
we should not have to explain ourselves to the government. You know, sometimes I tell people this, and they go, well, what's the big deal? I've got nothing to hide. Oh, really? I actually had this conversation with a woman, a dear woman in real estate. Oh, really? You have nothing to hide? You don't think it's a big deal, the government knowing everything about you? You have no secrets, right? Why no secrets? I don't mind. Okay, fine. Give me your purse. She says, what? I want your purse. I want to see everything in your purse, and that includes all your passwords for everything that you do online. I want to see all your PIN numbers. I want to see all your phone records. I want to see your medical records. I want to see, who you've been calling, when you've been calling, what times you've been calling. I want to see what your charges are to all, whatever it happens to be. I want all of this information. I want all of it. She wouldn't give me her purse. And I said to her, well, you have nothing to hide, do you? Silence. The argument that, well, we don't have anything to hide. Well, it doesn't matter if I have anything to hide. I will choose what to share with you. You don't get to choose that. I get to choose that. This is my life. This is my body. This is my existence. I don't answer to you. I just don't do it. And so we've come to the point in this country now where we just assume that we have to answer to the government. And that, well, if we have nothing to hide, we've got nothing to worry about. You've got everything to worry about. When you're answering to someone else who has no moral right to your claim as a human, you have to stop and think about this. You don't have to answer to another human being. You just don't. And yet people do it all the time to the government. Oh, they'll keep us safe. Terrorism, and the war on drugs. And tomorrow, I don't know what the magic word's going to be, but I'll bet you they'll come up with something. Come up with something to justify taking away our rights, to destroy our privacy. And it's, look, I don't know how much longer I have on this earth. I hope it's a long time and it's fulfilling. But, I may be gone tomorrow. I don't know. But I'm not going out like Winston Smith, where after he was in room 101, he learned to love Big Brother. And then he gets a bullet in the back of his head. I'm not going out like Winston Smith. I'm going to take this microphone, and I will use it as long as I can to help amplify the outrage. Don't spy on me. Our privacy matters. Get out of our lives. You have no right to tell me how to live my life if I'm not harming another person. I believe, this libertarian, that message will resonate throughout the internet, throughout the known universe. If we can just get on the air and do it right online, I believe we can make a difference. I believe we can change the world.
And there you have it. It's Dimitri Vassilaros, who has been working on a Kickstarter campaign to raise $2,500. He's raised $4,800 as of this broadcast. And we wish you all the best of luck with your endeavors.
Sir. Thank you.
And thank you for being here today.
And thank your listeners, the people who listen to this podcast and all that. Thank you all. I appreciate it. And if any of this makes sense to anyone, please go to the Kickstarter site. And Dimitri spelled with 3 I's, Dimitri. And please make a donation. We only have a few days left. It ends in literally 5 days. And, please spread this podcast, forward it to other people, and let people know about this wonderful guy here, Eric O'Brien, and what he has, PBRTV. If you care about media, especially in the tri-state area here, newspapers don't cover it. Newspapers don't cover all these great stories. This guy does. And by all means, take advantage of it and tell the world about it and make it a win-win situation. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. This is the PBRTV Podcast on PBRTV.com.
This is a PBRTV.com production.